Rain pounded against the windows of the luxurious penthouse as Emily Carter carefully changed the blood-soaked bandage around Daniel Blackwood's side. Daniel, one of the city's wealthiest businessmen, had been attacked only hours earlier. "You should be in a hospital," Emily whispered. Daniel forced a weak smile. "If I go there, they'll finish what they started." Emily had been hired only to clean the house, but when she found Daniel bleeding on the floor, she ignored the expensive furniture, called a trusted retired doctor, and stayed by his side all night. She didn't ask about his money. She didn't ask about a reward. She simply chose kindness. As she wrapped the fresh bandage, Daniel winced in pain. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "You've already done more for me than anyone else." Emily looked down. "I just couldn't leave someone to die." Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. 3 hard knocks echoed through the apartment. Daniel's face turned pale. "They found me." Emily looked toward the front door. 2 men dressed in black suits stood outside. One held a pistol. The other slowly scanned the room through the slightly open doorway. Emily's heart raced. "What do we do?" she whispered. Daniel tried to stand but collapsed back onto the couch. "I can't run." Emily took a deep breath. Then she did something unexpected. She walked toward the door. When she opened it, the 2 armed men stepped forward. "We're looking for Daniel Blackwood." Emily kept her voice calm. "You have the wrong apartment." The taller man frowned. "We know he's here." Emily folded her arms. "My husband is sleeping after surgery. If you wake him, I'll call the police." The men exchanged suspicious glances. Just then, an elderly neighbor opened her apartment door. "Is everything all right?" Emily smiled. "Just salesman?" The neighbor nodded, but stayed watching, realizing they were attracting attention. The 2 men reluctantly walked away. Emily quickly locked the door. Daniel stared at her in disbelief. "You just saved my life," she smiled nervously. "I was terrified for the first time in years." Daniel laughed. Dash. The next morning, Daniel finally told her the truth. Months earlier, he had discovered that several executives inside his own company were stealing millions from investors. When he refused to stay silent, they hired criminals to eliminate him. They already bribed the police. Daniel admitted, "I didn't know who I could trust." Emily quietly listened. Then she handed him a cup of tea. "You can trust me." Those simple words brought tears to Daniel's eyes. All his wealth, his luxury cars, his expensive watches, none of them had bought genuine loyalty. But one ordinary woman, with almost nothing, had risked everything for a stranger. Over the next few days, Emily continued caring for him. She cooked homemade soup. She cleaned his wounds. She reminded him to take his medicine. When Daniel apologized for becoming a burden, Emily smiled. "My mother always said kindness costs nothing, but it can save everything." Those words stayed with him. A week later, Daniel had recovered enough to walk. Together, they secretly met an honest investigative journalist. Daniel handed over every document, proving the corruption inside his company. Within days, the story exploded across national news. The corrupt executives were arrested. The hired criminals were captured. Justice had finally won. Several weeks later, Emily prepared to leave. "My work here is done," she said. Daniel handed her an envelope. "I can't accept money," Emily replied before opening it. "It's not money." Inside was the deed to a beautiful house. Emily stared in shock. "I can't." "Please let me finish." Daniel smiled warmly. "You never helped me because I was rich. You helped me because I was human. No amount of money can repay that." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve this." "You do. But there's one condition." She looked up. "What condition?" "You'll help me build something." 6 months later, the abandoned building downtown had become the Hope Haven Foundation. It offered free medical care for struggling families, emergency shelter for abuse victims, and scholarships for nursing students. Emily became its director. Daniel funded every project. Together, they helped thousands of people who had nowhere else to turn. One afternoon, a little boy hugged Emily after receiving free treatment. "My mom says angels are real." Emily smiled. "They are." He nodded. "They just don't have wings." Across the room, Daniel quietly watched. For years, he believed success meant having the biggest bank account. Emily taught him that true wealth is measured by the lives we change. As the foundation continued growing, a plaque was placed at the entrance. It didn't mention millions of dollars. It didn't mention business awards. It simply read, "One act of kindness can save a life. One compassionate heart can change the world." Every visitor stopped to read those words, and every person who walked through those doors became part of the kindness that had begun with one frightened woman, one wounded stranger, and one brave decision to help instead of walk away. Because in the end, kindness is the greatest legacy anyone can leave behind. Heart, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Speech balloon comment.
Kindness always wins, heart bell. Turn on the bell so you never miss our heartwarming stories. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Every subscription means the world. Thank you for watching Folded Hands Red Heart.